Agent on the yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the one and only Goal Line Goons live on Big Guy Fantasy Sports Network, as well as the Rumboyz Fantasy Network. Make sure that you guys hit that like button if you have not already. We greatly appreciate all of you. And also subscribe to the channel if you're brand new. After all, we are here to help you win that cash and those trophies one week at a time, one step at a time. Let me just start by saying that I do feel pretty damn good, especially because in my big money league where $3,000, a big ass trophy, and so on and so forth, bragging rights, etc., are all on the line. We clinched the bye this week. We clinched the playoff spot. We clinched the bye this week. We have been scrapping for wins. You guys have been a part of the journey for all the Rum Day night miracles. I've been calling the play-by-plays for the games and everything, and we've been reacting to this season together. We are entering week 12, all right? There's still a couple leagues that I got to scrap it out in, that I got to try and, lock in playoff position for. There's leagues that you guys got to get out there and lock in playoff position for. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to get into it. Taco will be here in a couple of moments. But in the meantime, in between time, let's just get into the chat. What's up, Daniel? What up? What up? Leafs, what up? Pussyclots. What's good, Aiden? What's up? What's good? What's good? So a couple things that we do have to go over. First off, we do begin every single episode of the Goal Line Goons with the injury report. Now, the injury report, luckily this week, isn't too extensive for us fantasy football managers. So we can kind of navigate pretty much most of these, all of these. Alexander Madison, all right, he's going to be out. It sounds like it's going to be an ankle. Both Madison and Zamir White dealing with injuries, battling with injuries. We'll talk about how you can approach that Raiders backfield situation if you're in a severe need there. We'll be able to talk about that, and I'll assist you guys with that here in a moment. Darnell Mooney, this one hurts. It's a hamstring, but the Falcons are on a bye. Okay, the Falcons are on a bye, so maybe Mooney can, utilize that time, get back to hopefully at least like 85% there. Of course, with hamstrings, you definitely want a guy to be out there 100%. But Mooney, he's going to be on bye anyways, so let's try not to fret too much over that one. Tajay Spears out for the Titans. You likely weren't really running Tajay Spears anyways, just because it's really been the Tony Pollard show for Tennessee. But deeper formats, you guys are going to be losing out on Tajay Spears. The Titans lose out on their backup running back. Season hasn't been that great for them. They're 2-8. So not really too much that we need to worry about there, okay? Bye weeks, all right? Bye weeks, you got 6 different teams on bye, okay? So starting off with the Falcons, that means you are missing Kirk Cousins, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Darnell Mooney, and the likes there with the Falcons, and any other players that you may have been utilizing out of that roster, out of that lineup. The Bills, you're missing Josh Allen, James Cook, Khalil Shakur. The tight end situation there has been murky. So Kincaid, Knox, what's happening there? Mari Cooper hasn't really popped out and showed, aside from really one game with the Buffalo Bills. But you're definitely going to be missing some key pieces there with the Bills. That Bills offense is chock full of fantasy value. Keon Coleman and the like, so on and so forth. The Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals, both Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow number one in passing yards and TDs, and then Jamar Chase practically number one seemingly in every single wide receiver statistical category possible. You're going to be missing out on those guys. Getting Gesicki with Gesicki, Mike Gesicki, T. Higgins, Chase Brown. What can Brown do for you? All those players, you guys are going to be missing out on the Bengals. The Bengals have actually had some decent fantasy value as well, just outside of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and the like, because some of those other players we've been able to utilize and fill in, whenever we need to. Gesicki's been a tight end streamer, kind of week in, week out. So Bengals, that one kind of hurts for fantasy managers this week. The New Orleans Saints, you're missing out on Taysom Hill. You're missing out on Alvin Kamara. No one's starting Derek Carr. Let's just fucking face it, okay? That's just the fact of the matter. That's just the truth of the matter. It is what it is. All right. That's really all that you're missing from the Saints in terms of recent right about now. Jets, they're on a bye right after they fired Joe Douglas. Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen of the like, going to be guys that you're going to be missing out on. And then as for the Jaguars, obviously Evan Ingram probably weren't really playing T-Law all that much. You had Bigsby, ETN that had some work throughout the year, probably weren't really starting those guys either. But then the receivers, Christian Kirk, so all the like Brian Robinson, I'm sorry, not Brian Robinson, Brian Thomas Jr. and the like, those are going to be guys that you're missing out on. Jags haven't really been that hot of a team for fantasy football as of late. So I feel like that makes things a little bit easier for fantasy managers that may have had some of those pieces. Okay. So yeah, those are the bye weeks. Those 6,000 teams on bye. Yeah, the bye week blues definitely hits this week with that being 6 teams. I saw a roster today that this dude's whole starting lineup was nothing but Falcons, Bills, Bengals, like Jag. Like he had every fucking possible player that could be on bye for week 12 on bye. I don't know if that was a meme or not. It was posted by ESPN Fantasy, so I'm assuming that that's someone's actual. Or no, it was posted by Yahoo Fantasy, so I'm assuming that that's someone's actual real life lineup. Hopefully, you guys are able to pivot throughout the course of this week. Hopefully, you got ahead of last week, by making some trades before the trade deadline closed. Another thing that I do want to touch on before I get into the actual waiver wire snags that you can be able to go out there and get this week. I do want to touch on the fact that trade deadline for pretty much all leagues, most leagues, is done. It's over. So we're not going to really be focusing on trade conversations tonight. All right. Really, this is going to be about ad drops. We're getting ready for playoffs right now. So that's where our focus is. All right. I want to go ahead and I want to begin talking about the quarterbacks. All right. Quarterbacks for waiver wire this week actually is pretty high. And you have some guys that if you've been struggling at the quarterback position, maybe just getting by the skin of your teeth, there's some back half of the season guys here that can win it for you. Now, there's also some guys on this list that may not be the hottest pickup. All right. Let's start off with the ones that I really, really like for you. First off, I'm actually going to just read this out of order. Justin Herbert at 78%. I do want everyone to go out there and get Justin Herbert. I included him on this list because there may be a chance for about close to 22% of you guys out there in fantasy land, 20% of you guys out there in fantasy land to be able to go and grab a Justin Herbert. He's being efficient on his feet. He's completing passes. That Chargers team has a fairly light schedule rest of the season. Justin Herbert is playing against that Baltimore defense this week. I believe they allow the second most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. If you want to beat Baltimore, you beat them through the air. You beat them by attacking the secondary, not by running the ball. So I anticipate that Justin Herbert is going to be a stock up against the Baltimore Ravens this week. Getting back into the order of the list, though, Matthew Stafford, 53% rostered. The Rams have forgotten about the running game. Kyren Williams is no longer getting the work, okay? I believe in his last 3 outings, he hasn't had a 100-yard rushing game and hasn't had a touchdown, something of that nature. Rams are going up against Philly. It is going to be pretty tough to push the ball, but we know that Puka Nacua is going to get his. We know that Cooper Kupp is going to get his. Since having both of those guys back out there on the field, Stafford has looked a lot better as a passer. That's been what has affected Kyren Williams to where they're not running the ball as much. So Stafford, I do like as a good play this week. That is going to be a tough matchup against Philly. Those cornerbacks for Philly, that secondary for Philly is no fucking joke, okay? No, I did not put Tommy DeVito on this list because there's no point in you playing Tommy DeVito. But we will talk about Tommy DeVito later. Bo Nix, 58% rostered. That is a rivalry game against the Raiders. Bo Nix has been balling the fuck out. Coming off a win last week against the Falcons, and then they should have beat the Chiefs, previously. Came down, down to the wire in that one. Bo Nix has been balling the fuck out. The fact that he is still available, you guys need to get out there. You need to go and get him. Seattle coming off a big win against the 49ers. In that divisional matchup, they have to go against another divisional matchup. Arizona coming off of a bye. Arizona is a tough team to play, and if it depends on what Cardinals we're going to get. If we get the Cardinals that we've been getting pretty much for the majority of the year coming off the bye, could be a little bit of a tougher play for Geno. But should we not? Geno definitely a good play this week if you're needing a quarterback. And then finally, Anthony. Well, I shouldn't say finally. The final two that I want you guys to kind of fade. All right, Anthony Richardson. If you're desperate, you need him. Fine, I get it. I know the Colts are still trying to maintain and show that they can at least maybe battle for some sort of a wild card. They're not completely out of it, but they do have to face the Detroit Lions. Anthony Richardson, highly rushing touchdown dependent. If Anthony Richardson ain't getting the rushing touchdowns, likely maybe not a guy that I want to have out there on my fantasy football roster. Guy that has a career 50% completion percentage. I get that he looked pretty decent last week. That was against the Jets, and the Jets are more dejected than Deshaun Watson after a bad massage. All right, so maybe Anthony Richardson this week we kind of shy away from. Then finally, Jameis Winston. Thursday Night Football will be hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. Probably not going to play Jameis Winston up against that Steelers defense. There is not a single speech that Jameis can make to make me believe and get me hyped to start him in fantasy football this week. That Steelers defense is nasty. All right. They did nasty things to Baltimore over the course of this weekend. Russell Wilson is a fucking baller. Jameis Winston may not even have enough time on the field to be able to be efficient enough to produce you fantasy points. Those are the quarterbacks, and we do have Taco here. What's good?
What's poppin', my boy? I see we talking about quarterbacks. I mean, a couple of guys that we've been mentioning for a little bit. Bo Nix, we've been mentioning him, I think, for the last 3 weeks. This guy has been trending up. The rushing attempts is what really makes him stand out. I think we also have to point out Justin Herbert's on a heater, and it looks like he's developing rapport with Ladd McConkey. So that little tag team could be very interesting.
Ladd and QJ. It's Ladd, it's QJ, it's Will Dissly. That whole team at this point of the fantasy game, that whole team has some fantasy value to it.
How about this? I could say the same thing for Jamies and his wide receiver crew because Judy's seen the resurgence. We're seeing Elijah Moore even last week being somewhat respectable. Tillman's been hitting.
with Jameis, that was I'll say that was a sample. That was the occasional, oh, like you can do it. They're playing the Lions this week, or I'm sorry, they're playing Pittsburgh this week on a
Yeah,
Thursday night.
you have to temper expectations, but like I had said before, he's a gunslinger, bro. That's one thing about he got a big arm and he's a gunslinger, and they're playing for nothing. So maybe this week might not be his best week, but famous James, like I said before, he's a baller. He's a shot caller, and he ain't afraid to throw the rock. So we
not
could see a couple of other 300-yard performances from this
well,
kid
you
going
can't be
forward.
afraid to throw the rock when you're fucking playing, constantly auditioning for your next NFL job.
Well, I mean,
You're
some guy that
probably
we're going
not
to talk
gonna get
about, some guy we're going to talk about later had a little problem throwing the rock, and that's why he ain't having a job no more. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
and last point, Stafford has been sneaky good now that you have Cup and Kapuka back. And don't forget that his numbers in the beginning of the year were depressed because he was missing
because he didn't have
Kapuka
those
and
guys.
Cup. So don't look at his numbers and you're like, look, he's not. Look at those last couple of games. See what they're back. We know that offense is a good offense with a good coach.
Yeah, anyone that's been playing fantasy football for a long time, pretty much knows back half of the season. You know what you're going to get with Matt Stafford
and Sean McVay. Look what he did with Baker that one year.
Yeah,
made him serviceable. He brought him back.
Getting into the running backs here, the running backs are meek. Okay, I'm not telling you to rush out and grab any of these guys. Running back is probably a position at this juncture. It's probably low priority for you to grab. You're mainly only going to grab someone if you're needing them as like a handcuff or something or the other, or either deeper formats. For the most part, at this stage of the game, you should have your running back situation figured out. Cam Akers, 23%. This is more so just because that Minnesota Vikings offense is high powered, so that maybe that there's a chance that Cam Akers can be able to punch one in from the goal line like we saw last week. That's one of those, again, kind of temper your expectations there. Amir Abdullah is 1% rostered right now. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning with the injuries, both Zamir White and Alexander Madison are dealing with injuries for that Raiders offense. Amir Abdullah had himself a touchdown last week. Old man Abdullah. Do I think that he does it again? No, not really. But if you got the room, maybe you can stash him away. Kenny Gainwell, this is going to be for handcuff purposes. We saw that they try to work him into the offense a little bit. Maybe that's just more so to, hey, let's make sure that we have Saquon fresh for the playoffs. Because, I mean, at this point, a lot of those above 500 teams, they're gonna be making it into the playoffs. So they got to start thinking, long term, longer down the road. And then finally, Roschon Johnson. Roschon's been slowly getting some work and slowly getting some burn behind DeAndre Swift. I still think that it's DeAndre Swift's backfield. But if you're really needing it, you're really needing the help, Roschon would probably be the best option out of these available, followed by Cam Akers, Abdullah, then obviously Gainwell would be the would be the backup.
Yeah, I mean, I have to fully agree with you in your assessment and your ranking. I think when we look at the Roschon Johnson pack, the thing that he has, and the only reason why he would be above everyone else, is that he has standalone value at that goal line. Well, I mean, it's not very high standalone value, but he does get enough touches inside that 5-yard line in order to justify picking him up at this point. And I would say that as we get deeper in, God forbid something happens, he's an immediate up to Swift. So if you give me all those running backs, it's definitely Roschon, then Akers in that order, with the other two being just complete throwaways in the deepest of deep leagues, where I'm going to take that swing. Cam Akers and Roschon might have a path to viability come to playoffs. But for now, like I said, I believe that roster construction is number one, maintaining depth and maintaining the integrity of the end of your bench. So if you have players that are flubbing or that don't really see much upside, guys that have a bye this week and next couple of weeks have some touch matchups, these are the kind of guys that we suggest adding and keeping on the bottom of your roster. So this way you're not having to make a waiver wire claim and shit, I got the 10th claim, I'm not going to get him kind of scenario that we know we run into, especially as we get closer and closer to playoffs.
Luckily, with this position grouping with these names, your league mates are likely not to be going after these guys
unless Swift gets hurt this weekend, and next thing you know, you're screwed.
Well, yeah, but that's
the way we think. Like,
yeah,
bottom of your roster should be
that's neither like here there. At that point, it's like, oh, I just got Roshan.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like that bottom of your roster needs to be those guys, not just players that are there to be shit.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you're not rushing to drop anyone worth a damn to go get any of these players.
Exactly.
You better be in a situation where, again, like I mentioned, Falcons, Bills, Bengals, Saints, Jets, Jags are on buys, and you're missing running backs from those backfields, so you need replacements. And that pretty much is the only excuse. Or you're in a deep league. Wide receivers, kind of. Honestly, this list is very much the same as last week, so I don't want to regurgitate too much. Juwan Jennings, the fact that he is not 100% rostered is insane to me. If you are able to grab Juwan Jennings, you need to be having Juwan Jennings. I don't think that the target market share is going down for him anytime soon. The 49ers need him. The 49ers are trying to fight in a very wide open NFC West to be able to at least get a playoff appearance. They have been looking great. They're going to have to rely on Juwan and go to Juwan. He knows the offense very, very, very damn well. So look for Juwan Jennings if he's available. Noah Brown, he's clearly the 2 to Terry. They're going up against the Commanders are going up against Dallas this week. This is kind of one of those easy, like, oh shit, like I got Khalil Shakir on bye. I got, T. Higgins on bye. I got Mooney on bye. Notice I'm mentioning all the teams that are on bye. You have anybody on a bye, you're looking for a soft matchup. It's out of all of these receivers here, that's as soft of a matchup as you're going to get is against the Dallas Cowboys. They are the worst team in the NFL, hands down. Quentin Johnson, 58% rostered. We kind of already talked about Herbert, and everything about Quentin Johnson goes hand in hand with Herbert. I feel like Quentin Johnson should be a little bit above the 58% mark, and I do fully expect that to change. He's definitely been coming along. Again, the way that you beat Baltimore is through the air. I expect Quentin Johnson to have a huge weekend. Him and Ladd both. MVS, this is more so of just a stash and save if you can. I understand that the Saints are on a bye this week. And that's going to be, I'm going to bring that up again for another player that I'm going to mention later. This is a guy that you could stash because he could go out there and get you, double-digit fantasy points within 2 catches. One giant catch, from MVS, and he can win you. He can win you a fucking week, straight up. So MVS getting all the deep work with down there in New Orleans, and he's actually making the catches. It's not like when he was with the Chiefs where he wasn't making those catches, or when he was with the Packers, just like, please hang on to the fucking ball. MVS is actually looking like a baller right now. The final 2 is more so it can be either one of their weeks. Do I think that either Judy or Elijah Moore are going to be valid fantasy football starts this week because of the matchup against Pittsburgh? No. If it was a softer matchup, I'd be able to, maybe say a little bit more polite things, but Cleveland's probably going to look like Cleveland. I mean, the record already shows they're 2-8, so they're already looking like Cleveland of old, but they're really going to look like Cleveland of old up against Pittsburgh. If you're not able to grab any of the first 3, because obviously MVS is on bye, and you're needing a starter this week, I would say it'd be Judy over Moore. Obviously, and the stats kind of prove that. But don't get your hopes up. it's the Cleveland Browns that we're talking about. You're going to be more likely disappointed than not. Like, it's going to be, put it this way, your range of emotions are either I'm highly fucking disappointed or, oh shit, I can be like Taco right now and be like, Judy did something. And that range of emotion on that side of the equation is not as likely to happen as much as the other one. And we know that throughout 12 weeks of football.
In his last 3 games, in 1-point PPR, 12.9, 14.3, 26.2. That's Jerry Jeudy. Ladies and gentlemen, if he is available, you go grab him. And you go grab him now.
Not based off those other 2 performances, because I have better talent on pretty much all of my fantasy rosters than that.
I will say
beyond the 14 points, beyond the 12 points. If he had more high scoring 18, 19, 20-point games.
Remember, this is now with the There's 2 things that occurred with the Cleveland Browns that have affected Judy's positioning. The first was the massage parlor maniac is no longer
Watson
there.
Watson going out, and Cooper no longer being in town.
Cooper, that's 2 things that are impacting Judy's stock. That gives me belief that it's 67% rostered. You're going to be hard-pressed to find players that will, at the end of the season, have more target share on teams that are going to be playing with negative game script, like we saw in the last game where Jameis is just throwing that ball because we down. We got to keep throwing it.
I'll take any one of these other players over Judy or more. Hands down. Hands down. Hands down. Hands down.
I mean, MVS, if you look at MVS, right? Now, last thing before I move on. Moore. He's a little bit more shaky. He's had 16 and 18. Last game was 6 catches for 66 yards and 8 targets, but this was a large target share game. I more than likely think that Moore is behind. No, I know Moore is behind Judy in the pecking order. But with that said, if you're super desperate, I'm not against Moore. Now, MVS is a interesting player. And I say that because he is a home run hitter. Okay. And when you hit home runs, you know what that means. You also usually tend to strike out a lot. And if we look at MVS, in his last 2 games, he has performed this on 3 and 4 targets. He had 3 catches in one game and 2 catches in the other game for these massive games. Who does this remind you of? Shaheed, who at the beginning of the season had a stretch of a couple of games.
Or you could just say that it reminds you exactly of who the fuck he is, MVS, because this is what MVS has always done. I'm just saying, because
at the beginning of the year, we saw the same exact thing with Shaheed and with the Saints. Do they like to take the home run ball? Yes. That means he has to be on the roster, like on the radar for the rest of the year. But does that mean he should be in your lineup? That is the question.
It's a gamble.
If you're absolutely desperate, this is like a Taysom Hill scenario. Absolutely desperate, he's better than nothing. But more than likely, if you ask me, I would rather have Judy in this situation because I do feel like Judy's going to have a much more stable workload and role in the offense going forward. I do believe Juwan Jennings is a no-brainer ad, as well as Quentin Johnson as a no-brainer ad. Those 3 to me are the top 3 guys here that we have that I'm interested in, as they are also the most rostered. Jennings is definitely one. To me,
no, I'd rather yeet myself out of a window than go grab Jerry Jeudy and hope that I can win a championship.
I disagree with you. I think Jeudy rest of the season is better than MVS. We can watch that.
Sean, the fact that your league is still having a trade like deadline open is insanity. Talk to your commissioner, tell him to get his mind right, because that's from a competitive standpoint, that's completely fucking insane. You should not be able to make a trade after week 12. Week 12 is the cutoff to me personally. Should I trade away Garrett Wilson for Pickens in keeper league? Yeah, you should at this point if you're trying to win. Pickens is out producing. the last day. Okay, yeah, I was about to say.
If it's
Like,
a keeper,
ain't no way.
if it's a keeper league, I still think I like Garrett Wilson more long term. I don't
Because
trust
most
Pickens.
keeper leagues have it to where if you trade him away, you won't be able to like draft him the next year or some shit like that.
Yeah, it really depends.
I'm not wanting Garrett. I'm a lot of people make this mistake in keeper leagues because like the league that I just locked in my buy is a keeper league. I'm gonna say this and now I have to unfreeze myself. But the league that I just locked in my buy is a keeper league. I traded away my keeper. I'm not going to be able to get a Chan next year, but I traded him away. But you know what? I traded him away for good reasoning so that I could be able to lock in my buy. I care about winning now. I do not care. What's the point of me having Garrett Wilson in keeper next year if I lose this year? There's no point. That means it was a waste of a keeper pick for me. Especially if there's a chance that I'm going to be able to make somebody else my keeper and be able to get better value for them. I would definitely though make that trade for real, Sean. Make that damn trade because you need to win. You need to win, and the Jets offense isn't helping anyone win. Give me 1 second.
Ooh-wee. It's about to be lit. Your boy made the SFB playoffs, baby.
All righty. Let's get into the tight ends here. One moment.
Mm-hmm.
So the tight ends this week are actually pretty unique because all of them are actually fairly viable. If you remember a couple of weeks ago on this show, I was on record stating, we were both on record stating, just be okay with an 8-point floor. Like if you can get 8 points out of your tight ends, like, all right, like that's a pretty decent week for the position. With these guys, it's a little bit different. Taysom Hill, because of the way that he's utilized in that offense, he can go the fuck off. He should be somewhere around the neighborhood of 70% rostered. And I'm shocked that he's not. He's 48% rostered. If there is a chance that you can get Taysom Hill, and every week you've kind of been streaming tight ends, here and there, trying to put pieces together. As long as you're okay with at least 8, just get me at least 8. Then Taysom Hill is definitely the guy I want. Is it a gamble with Taysom Hill because we've been on this roller coaster year in, year out with Taysom Hill? Yes, Taysom Hill always finds himself in waiver wire conversations because he does have that ability to where he can win you your week. And he may not necessarily lose you your week, but he may be the goose egg on your roster. It may not be completely his fault, but that is always within the realm of possibilities of the realm of outcomes. Taysom Hill is a gamble, but does need to be rostered, especially with the way that the play calling is working right now for the Saints. They are feeding him significantly way more than any other year that we witnessed Taysom Hill play. Will Disley, the Chargers are just passing the ball all around. Everybody's getting touches. Disley starting, really pop out and show. This is more so the safe floor play. They're going to need Disley to go heads up against the Ravens. The way that you beat the Ravens through the air, use Disley to attack those linebackers, go heads up with them, feed him about 2-3 catches across the middle during the first half, and then really let him blow up the second half. I like that play this week. Jonnu Smith, they're going against the Patriots. So I'll leave that as to what it is. Could it be more so of a Tyreek day or whatever the case? It seems like Jonnu is becoming to his friend. The tight end position is becoming to his friend here. So Jonnu is still. I don't want to say necessarily say hurry up and running at him. I think that Disley might be the better option, but Jonnu getting some work, and then Zach Ertz. Again, soft matchup. They're going up against Dallas. Zach Ertz balled out last week. Now, is Ertz going to get that same workload this week? Probably not, just because those corners for Philly were so damn good that they were able to take Terry out of the picture. Dallas's corners are basura. So they're probably not going to be able to take Terry out of the game plan this week, which means that the targets that were going to Ertz last week against Philly are probably gonna go towards Terry and Noah, and the likes. But I still believe that Zach Ertz can get you a safe floor. And really quick, just to circle back to Taysom Hill. Yes, I know that he's on a bye. This is the add and stash if you can. Anything you got for the tight ends?
Jonnu motherfucking Smith. Something tells me he might have a chance this week. He might have a chance. I'm desperately playing him in the league. I've had him on my roster for the last couple of weeks. He's been steady. And at a tight end position with this many players on bye, including guys like Kincaid and Ingram and Taysom Hill, I think Jonnu Smith is the first guy I'm grabbing to start this week, all things considered.
Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the matchup up against the Patriots. Patriots, though, are playing pretty decent football. So I will give the Patriots some credit. It's not that the team necessarily is playing decent football. It's that Drake May is playing decent football. I should preference that. We're not going to say that. Let's see here. So that's all that I have for the tight ends. If you guys are needing defenses this stream, I like Miami up against New England. I like Washington up against Dallas. I feel like those are very easy ones for you to be able to go out and take advantage of. And they have fairly lax schedules for rest of the year. Getting into the topics of the day, topics of the week. We start off because this morning we heard that the Jets went ahead and parted ways with their GM, Joe Douglas. Aaron Rodgers stated he would like to play next year in a recent interview prior to the Colts snatching the Jets' soul and the team parting ways with GM Joe Douglas. Is Rodgers washed at this point? Should he retire?
No matter what, he's a $49 million dead cap hit. Just give him another year. Now, the thing is, you have to.
The reports are saying that they're not going to, though. They've already made a decision. It sounds like they've already made a decision for him.
We will see what happens, because financially speaking, whether they trade him or they cut him, your dead money is so bad that you probably have a better chance of giving him another shot than cutting him, because let's face it, from what we saw this year, he was not great. He was not the Aaron Rodgers of old. But at the same point in time, that whole team was dysfunctional from the beginning. There was no continuity. The man didn't show up to training camp on time. There was lack of power. There was lack of authority. There was no discipline. There are so many fundamental things that went wrong that you cannot build a winner. And do we know that this was the best version of Aaron Rodgers we get coming off of this injury? So at the end of the day, considering how much money they have, he has to come back. Now, is it his fault? I mean, I would say this is a combination of the GM, the coach, him, and the owner. They all deserve onus. And with the most going on the owner, because he shouldn't be making football fucking decisions. He shouldn't be the one firing Salah. Salah should have not been fired by this goddamn coach, because I'm sorry, he wasn't the problem. The problem was the offensive coordinator, because this defense performed much better when Salah was present than under Ulbrich.
So hold up. So hold up. So here's where you and I are same, but different. Okay. I have no problems with many of the when you look back at everything, okay, and you just look at the history of Aaron and some of the sneaky backdoor conniving shit that he's done.
Yeah.
Even dating back to Green Bay.
Okay, I can see that.
That's why I'm putting this comment up here. Led GM. It is a led GM type of issue where, hey, Bron, you're making too many goddamn, decisions right now. We're giving you too much power. Hold on, let's reel some of this back.
But who's
hold up. Let me cook. For Rodgers to claim that he had no idea that Salah was going to get fired, but then previous weeks we're seeing them two kind of not getting along, even during, you brought up the training camp incident, him not answering when Salah's like, hey, I need to know where you are. I would like it if you could be fucking accountable, please. And Rodgers kind of just blowing him off and disregarding him. I'm going to be honest. And then Rodgers kind of, because of how good and how talented he has been throughout his career, utilizing that as a way to get into Woody Johnson's ear of being like, okay, now I want you to do this, and I want you to do that. Aaron Rodgers saying, bring me all of my old players, bring me my old offensive coordinator. You turned it into the fucking Packers. Well, guess what, buddy? That version of the Packers, when you were on your way out the fucking door, wasn't good either. So this notion that here's the one thing I can defend the Jets. You gave Joe Douglas 6 goddamn seasons to get it together. So I can agree with that. But I can also say, you know what, this is all really Aaron Rodgers' fault. And if I were Woody Johnson, I'd be like, you know what, Aaron, you sit down. Don't fucking call my phone anymore. Don't ask me for anything else anymore, because what's going to happen is, to your point, you're going to play next year unless you choose to retire. I'm going to now do what I want to do and how I feel the team should be ran, because we gave you the keys to the Ferrari and you crashed the bitch.
Yep. But you also have to think that's the reason why Joe Douglas stayed in that position, so that he can be manipulated by Aaron Rodgers. Now, when we look at that firing of Salah,
what up, Jonsu?
It truly shows that, again, the owner is taking too much responsibility in the playmaking decisions and in the on-field football decisions. We see it in so many of these teams, like with the Knicks. Dolan needs to get the fuck out in order for us to win. And guess what? Now that he's the fuck out of the room, we're actually performing and look like a respectable franchise, because we have the GM to be there to lay the bricks and to step by step by step. This team tried to microwave shit, and now they have hot shit on the plate. That's all that happened.
Zach Wilson led this team to more fucking wins.
Dude, and let's be honest, Salah was not the biggest problem. To let him go after he was, 2-3? Why would you even have him come if he's only 2-3 and they're just being rocky? They have been like 1-9 since he left. The defense has been significantly worse, but you know what? He had that little patch and he had to let go after the patch. So let's be really honest with each other. Johnson, be honest with yourself. You shouldn't have let him go. You should have let him go.
I don't think the patch had anything to do with it. I think the patch had 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 to do it.
I think it was a final straw.
I don't even think that it was a final straw. You want to know
what? How do you fire a guy at 3-2 or 2-3?
You want to know how? You want to know how? Because
that's 5 games in.
You want to know how? Because
you are worse.
You have a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback that picked up the phone and said, "I want this dude gone." Because listen, here's the thing. From the moment that Rodgers has gotten into that building, all the way through, every decision that is linked to his name has crashed and burned, has failed.
And then you
every
have
decision
to
that the Jets made, every decision that the Jets made that Rodgers didn't influence, drafting Garrett Wilson, bringing in Salah. I feel like they probably could have gotten away with maybe, even behind Aaron Rodgers, letting Zach Wilson learn a little bit more. What did Rodgers say? I'm not going to fucking sit here and mentor this kid, Same shit that he tried to fucking pull with Jordan Love, Guess what? Jordan Love still sat behind you and looks 10 times better as a fucking Green Bay Packer than you ever did. So no,
Okay,
like
let's not
I'm
get that
done.
far.
That might have been a little far. That might have been a little
We're
far.
gonna get back a little bit. We're railroading, but not that hard. We're not
Like,
one of those shows.
but no, like for real, like it's all Aaron Rodgers' fault. That the whole time that he was out on injury, this man was still taking headlines away from the fucking team.
Let's be honest. This is the owner's fault because they pressed go from the beginning. They would have been better off going in a million different directions. And the problem is he just kept going down the rabbit hole and the quicksand just kept getting him. And at the end of the day, until this owner steps away or until he finds a GM that he trusts enough in order to give him the time in order to rebuild a winner, because Rome wasn't built in a day. Okay, you need a couple of years. You need to start stacking some wins. Sometimes it won't look the best, but it will start continuing to go up. And at the end of the day, until the owner steps out of this decision-making process and really can just let a football mind do football things, much like the Maras, shit will be sad.
From what I've heard, that there's a possibility that Woody says fuck it and gives the team back to his brother and is like, I'm not. It's gonna be like, I'm not gonna deal with this shit. And a lot of it has to do with Aaron Rodgers. But then that just puts the Jets back to where they were before. You know, whether Rodgers chooses to retire or not, it's like, well, now you really got to rebuild everything. So me, if I'm the Jets, I'm starting the rebuild right now.
No, if I'm the Jets, I give Aaron Rodgers that one last year because it's 49 million dead
You
cap.
can give him another year, but you can also begin
the
other pieces around him. The other pieces around him, you can be like, no, you're all going.
You know who I do bring in though? If I'm the Jets, there's only one coach you bring in, and you know who it is. It's Mr. Rex Ryan.
Oh my God,
he is the only coach that you're going to be able to bring in there right now.
No.
Rex Ryan. They have not been to the playoffs since Rex Ryan was the coach. Rex Ryan was railroaded at the end of his tenure there with bad rosters. He has put out the most competitive Jets product.
You know how many 30 years ago that was? You did the most. Stop. You just did the most living in the past shit that I've ever fucking heard in my life. There are better coaches now that are ready to coach in the NFL right now.
Maybe.
Rex Ryan has that is the dumbest fucking take I've ever heard. I'm going to the next topic. That was a dumbass take.
Rex is a good coach, bro. He's a good coach.
He was a good coach. The game is different now.
After sitting out a little bit.
He didn't sit out a little bit. He sat out years, bro. He's been out of the game fucking damn near 12 years.
Okay. He's still on the analyst. He still breaks down film. He's still involved with the game.
The schemes and such aren't even the fucking same.
He's been watching it the whole time, though. He's seen the evolution. It's not like he's someone that's not been in the game.
Put it this way. There's a reason why Steve Mariucci isn't fucking coaching. Even if you go watch Rex Ryan break down a play and listen to the terminology that he's using and how he's trying to break it down. He's so fucking far behind of what's happening now. Don't get me wrong. There are still certain very key principles that remain the same. You know, a 3-4 is going to be a 3-4. A 3-5 is going to be a 3-5.
Brady's saying the game's been dumbed down.
But no.
So you think Brady's wrong?
The game has evolved. I won't say that the game has dumbed down, because if that were the case, Brady would have still stayed and just kept fucking dominating. I mean, obviously, all Father Time has 6 years old,
bro. How old can he be out there? He gets one bad hit and he's looking like Stipe.
Let's go ahead. I want to move into the next topic. The Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Ravens in a divisional rivalry. This begs the question, who are you more confident in come playoff time? The Ravens and Lamar, or Russ and the Steelers? Let's keep in mind that these are both very talented head coaches.
Yes. Okay.
And they always tend to go back and forth with each other.
Question for you. How many of these quarterbacks have Super Bowl wins?
I mean, that's on Pete Carroll, but yeah, Russell Wilson's a part of that team.
Yep. Okay. Now, question for you. In the playoffs,
it was Russell Wilson. It was like, let's throw.
In the playoffs, who is one of the few players that seems to play down, that seems to not play up to his back of the base football card? That's your boy LaMarvelous, right? He performs at an MVP level during the regular season, but come playoff time, he looking like, you know what I mean? Looking like a second stringer, looking like some Jameis, like, you know what I mean? You kind of looking at him like, bro, we're not expecting that.
It's pretty much up until Lamar gets to the Chiefs. Lamar is fine up until he gets to the Chiefs.
I remember he lost the game versus the Titans when he had a good seed. They have been so bad consistently.
That was against Derrick Henry. That was against Derrick Henry one, and then also they had no fucking receivers. And that Tennessee defense was.
I had made a comment before about the Ravens and why I had believed that the Bills were more of a threat to the Chiefs, because they always forget about the fucking run. They always forget about Derrick Henry or whoever's back there and the run. They're always one of the best running teams. And when it comes down to,
he did. Yeah, he actually did.
He lost to them once as well, did he not?
I don't think
he's had some bad losses, not just to the Chiefs. He's had some bad losses in the playoffs.
Okay? No, I think you're wrong. Hang on. I'm gonna go ahead and check you on that.
I didn't say he didn't beat them, but he also lost to them, is what I'm saying. He played them more than once. He didn't face the Titans just once in the playoffs. So there's that. Okay. And at the end of the day, when you're looking at the two coaches, they're both great, but Jim Harbaugh, for some reason, just gives me like the vibes of a choker. Like they just always seem to choke. They always seem to lose when they're supposed to win. No matter how much more talented their rosters are, they always seem to fall short in the playoffs. He didn't lose every single playoff.
So you're talking about the COVID year. So his very first year, his rookie year, he made to the playoffs, lost to the Chargers. We're not used to seeing rookie quarterbacks go to the playoffs. That's fucking amazing within itself, even with the loss. The following year, that's when Lamar didn't really have any weapons. They were super banged up. Lamar tried to put the team on his back. They did lose. They did lose to the Titans. That Titans defense was immaculate. The following year, he beats the Titans. Then has to go up against the Bills. Loses to the Bills. The year after that, goes up against Houston. Demolished Houston. And then, I'm sorry. That was last year. I'm sorry. So last year, beat Houston, demolished Houston, had to go up against the Chiefs. So realistically, when we look at the team as a whole, it's only been two games. Well, three if you count the divisional and the championship game last year were in the same year. So I'm not trying to, because that makes it convoluted. Realistically, the only two losses that you can really lay an indictment on them is Buffalo and KC, which was 2021 and then 2024 last year.
You want to see that
every other year, there's always been something to where that team wasn't complete. Last year was the first time that they had a semi-complete team.
I mean, listen, I'm not saying that Lamar Jackson is a bad quarterback by any standards or any means. All I'm saying is that he's had a history in the playoffs where he has not performed to the MVP level that we see in the regular season in the playoffs in most of these games. Even in the wins that they have, he's usually performing okay, but not like LaMarvelous. And
that's why it's a regular season award. That's why it's not a playoff award.
I completely understand, but there are players that play above and there are players that play below. And now, that's what his history is showing. He's playing below his season. He's playing below his season performance.
No,
in the playoffs. Right. He doesn't play like the same player he plays in the regular season in the playoffs. He's a better player in the regular season.
That's able to be said about so
okay, but that has to be said about him in this conversation. And Russell Wilson is the kind of player who I do believe elevates his game in these clutch games, in these situations with the chips down. Like I said, when he was getting the opportunity, I do think he's not finished. I do think he has ability. I do think he has talent. I do think that Tomlin is a great coach. He's one of the most underrated coaches of this generation. And people will think that Jim Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin are on the same level, and they are not. They are not.
Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah, they
Mike Tomlin is better.
Yeah, they are. They're
Mike
definitely
Tomlin had nobody at quarterback, and he's still competing with this Ravens team every single year. He had nobody every year, and he pulls it off.
Harbaugh has more rings.
Harbaugh may have more rings,
and
but he also has more talent on that roster.
And has done it at multiple levels. So
how many rings does Harbaugh have again?
2.
Okay, so we're 1 ring behind with Mike Tomlin.
No, Mike Tomlin has. I think he's tied. I think he's tied with Tomlin. I think they have the same amount.
So, listen, you put them at tied, and Mike Tomlin's had no quarterback for the last 3-4 years. Mason Rudolph.
Pittsburgh has one of the least quarterback turnover rates
since Roethlisberger left. Who have they had? And the end of Roethlisberger wasn't pretty.
That still counts towards their turnover rate.
Okay.
Here's what I'll say. One, these two teams, they always split back and forth. All right. So I'm not going to place an indictment on the Ravens for losing that game. What I will say is that the Ravens have lost some regular season games to where against teams that they should have beat, but they've also had some wins against teams that maybe they probably shouldn't have. What scares me about Baltimore when we talk long-term is the secondary. Nothing else worries me about that team but that. The fact that you're able to pass on Baltimore makes it to where yes, I think Pittsburgh goes a little bit further in the playoffs. Of course, that's going to be matchup dependent. I feel like Pittsburgh, the way that they're built right now, is a little bit more ready. That's what I'll say. I'll say that Pittsburgh is built better, but the Ravens are also one of those teams to where they can choose to turn it on at any given fucking point, and that makes it scary. But for the sake of discussion, for the sake of the argument, I will say right now the Steelers are playing better fucking football. The Steelers are more put together. Does some of that have to do with strength of schedule? Yes. Will any of those things matter come playoff time? Fuck no, because at that point, you're going to be going up against the best of the best, and you have to walk that gauntlet. So that's really gonna prove, what they're able to put out there on the field. But yeah, I'll admit the Steelers are playing damn good football. They're put together a little bit better. There'll be another two teams that we talk about in the AFC in a couple of topics to kind of, I guess, balance out what these other two teams are like. But right now the Steelers got it. They're playing with motion. I want to get in here. Yes, sunflower seeds can't lay seeds. Yeah, the receiving core for Baltimore isn't nothing to write home about. We're gonna take it to New York here, really quick, because how could we not talk about this news that dropped today? Daniel Jones is getting replaced, and it's not for the quarterback 2 that is on that roster. They are bringing back Tommy DeVito. Thoughts on not giving Drew Lock the opportunity? And all my Italians out there, rejoice.
I'm going to tell you right now, I was so pissed. And you know why? Because Tommy showed me something last year, man. This kid has fucking heart. He puts it on the line, man. He puts it out there. And he's a young kid from Don Bresco Pep. He's a football boy from the state, from the city. Grew up as a Giants fan. This is the kind of shit that sells tickets and makes you fucking want him to win. It's sickening because we were had a chance to get a quarterback. I wanted Daniel Jones to stay in there. I wanted the losses. I guarantee Tommy Cutlets wins at least 1 to 2 games. Tommy Cutlets and neighbors might be a thing. Cutlet neighbors. I don't even know. There's something with Tommy that I do believe in. And I believe that now that DeVito may be coaching for his job, I think he's going to let the
Dayball.
Dable, excuse me. Yeah,
Holy
Dable's
fuck.
coaching for his job.
No.
I think it's a situation where you go with the guy that you kind of trust. And while Drew Lock was there, I don't think he did enough to prove that he's significantly better than what Tommy DeVito showed last year, where he showed moxie and guts and fucking determination to eke out some crazy wins. And I believe that that's going to be the catapult to taking the Giants from being a team that can draft a Shador Sanders or a Cam Ward to stuck drafting a fucking shitty offensive lineman who probably doesn't pan out. So I'm grateful that he's getting an opportunity to fuck ourselves up.
Really quick, what's funny is you going on the offensive line like tangent just there when like Joe Walt is tearing shit up in Los Angeles, and if y'all had that could have been been a saving grace. But that's neither here or there.
But I'll say this: I'm happy with Neighbors. We needed weapons, but I wanted Cam
there was other
or
ways you could have
Shador
done
this
that
year.
too. There's this is football with the wide receiver position. There are 160 some odd, 66 some odd different viable receivers that you could have gotten. At the end of the day, it's a team sport. One guy doesn't make the difference. I mean, one guy can be a difference maker, but one guy doesn't make the difference. What I will say though, in regards to you know the Tommy DeVito situation, the Tommy Cutlass situation, from my understanding, from what I heard from a source, one, Dable is going to be safe. Dable is going to be safe. One, not a whole lot of other coaches that you'd rather have, to be honest. Two, Dayball's been at the mercy of front office with them constantly trying to keep Daniel Jones and so on and so forth. You could tell that Dayball's been frustrated with Daniel Jones for a very, very long time. That's why they brought in, the whole, Drew Lock situation during the offseason, et cetera, to kind of apply some pressure to Daniel. From a football standpoint, all right, as someone has played the game, I do believe that this was you're not impressive. You haven't been impressive. It's time for us to part ways. We are going to part ways at the end of this season. So get ready to start packing your fucking bags and clean out your locker. Drew, you're the same guy as Danny. So I'm not going to pretty much put out a carbon copy of what the fuck I already have and what I've already seen. Let's bring in something, maybe a little bit different. Is it going to provide a spark? Probably not. Is it going to help win games? Probably not. If you were to ask me, do I want Danny DeVito to be my fucking quarterback and be the one tossing me passes? Hell no. Please get me somebody a little bit more prepped and ready for the situation and for the NFL. Danny DeVito looked all right last season, but it's the only people that are bragging about DeVito are New Yorkers
and mostly the Paisans.
And it's really the Italian community. Shout out to my Paisans out there. But with that being said and stated, and kind of with that, you guys, I know for a fact that there is a faction of Giants fans that would have been completely okay if they were losing and if it was underneath Danny DeVito, so to make it as if this is going to be, suddenly better or it's going to be okay. At the end of the day, this is about winning football games. This isn't about your favorite, quarterback, being able to go out there, like the hometown kid going out there and singing. If the hometown kid can't go out there and fucking win football games, it does not matter. There's no need to be rallying behind the kid. I understand, this is shit that movies are scripted on. Fuck all of that. Win me games.
Well, there's two things here. One, he loses out and we rejoice in a great pick. Or two, he wins some games and writes himself a Lifetime movie. That's why there's no downside here. He comes in, wins 3-4 games. He's Tommy Cutlets. He's the folk hero from New Jersey that holds the tailgate at the Giants games for the next 30 years, selling his parents Italian food. Like, this is the story that he could be heading to, which will fuck us because then there's no quarterback. But then maybe we get Arch. I don't know. Maybe that's the plan.
Nah, I like what Leaf said. Monroe, I think that Jalen Monroe would actually fit pretty well in that system. You got Dylan Gabriel that she'll be able to kind of go after. There's the quarterback class this year isn't as bad as what many people are alluding to. I mean, hell, if we look at last year's class, everyone was all raving about just pretty much the top 3 guys, and then everyone kind of let everyone else fall to the wayside. I think that the way that these quarterback camps are being set up right now for the youth and for the guys that are coming in, and the way that the game is being played now, you're going to be able to you'll be able to get somebody. Maybe they could beat the Cowboys. The rest, no, I'm dead. I'm dead. They can have them once we're done with Dallas. We're gonna spank Dallas first. Should I trade Jefferson for Bijan? My running backs are Aaron Jones, Tyrone Tracy, Kyron Pollard, and Alexander Madison. My wide receivers are Kupp, Juwan Jennings, Tillman, Leggett, and Mike Williams. Double flex league. I'm not trading Jefferson at all. Yeah. And you have a pretty good running back stable there. I mean, obviously Madison being hurt, but I mean, the rest of those guys are able to go out there, put up numbers, and be able to win things for you. Yeah, realistically, bro, Jefferson's not equal value for Bijan. Let's just keep it real. Jefferson's
problem with Bijan is that he just doesn't get enough touches because Terry Azio just cuts enough into his workload to feel confident about. Like, the reason why Jefferson went lower to begin the year is that no one had faith in Darnold and no one had seen McCarthy, and we were anticipating that Darnold would be absolute gutter trash until McCarthy came over. And then once you see
and then opposite
Darnold
argument with Bijan, everyone thought that Kirk Cousins was going to be washed and he wasn't going to be able to play off that Achilles. Well, they're a passing team; they're not a running team anymore.
Yep. And they're a split running team at that. So even when they do decide to run, they haven't gone away from that.
Okay, so facts. Let's take a look at if you're trying to really move a receiver for a running back, okay, let's just remove Justin Jefferson off the board because no one should be allowed to get him.
CMC is the only running back that I would maybe consider for him.
And he has
or Barkley. Barkley's another.
Yeah, for me it would be Barkley or Derrick Henry. That's the only 2.
Yeah. If you're trading him, those are the only 2 guys. Otherwise, don't even think about it. Stop wasting your time, and you just focus on who else you can get on the back end of your roster to sort up the running back. But you keep Jefferson because he's like,
you keep Jefferson. If you're going to trade anyone, like, you could maybe move Juwan, you could maybe move Tillman for like a Mixon. I feel like that's a little bit of a better value, a lot better, and that's a better trade. Nobody should be trying to ask for Justin Jefferson. Especially when we only got like a couple of hours left of the trade deadline. That's people trying to hustle you out of your value.
And you don't even have terrible running backs because you got Joe.
No, that's what I just said.
You got Kyron.
Yeah, that's what I just said. He doesn't have bad running backs, so he really doesn't need to be making a trade, to be honest.
Yeah, the top end talent of Jefferson is better than what you're doing, and Tracy or one of these other guys might give you some motion. Madison has the full running back room. I just don't see you getting enough upside in trading Jefferson right now.
Yeah, you're not getting.
Make sure though you get Aaron Jones backup though, just to be safe. Cam Akers, just to be safe.
All righty. Josh Allen defeat the Chiefs, putting a halt to all the Kansas City glazing that's been going on. Do you still think Kansas City wins it all this year, or that AFC is convoluted? I really do. I said it last show, so I'm going to make my take quick. I think that it is someone else that comes out of the AFC other than Kansas City. When we look at previous undefeated teams throughout NFL history, Kansas City has been the worst undefeated team leading up to that game against Buffalo. They were bound to lose a game anyways. It was going to happen because they were playing too close to the fucking, too close to the vest. I think that is someone new that comes out of the AFC, and the way that the Bills are playing football right now, they're having fun. You're not worrying about a fucking diva like Stephon Diggs, tearing up the locker room and shit. Everyone looks happy. I think that this team can really fucking do something. I think that this could be the Bills' year without Pittsburgh being in their way.
I mean, like they say, the Bills are going to bill. I mean, we've seen how they do for many years since the 90s.
They made it to 3 different fucking Super Bowls back then.
And lost all of them.
But they made it. We're talking about just making it. We ain't asking them to fucking win it all. We're talking.
You're right, but you said, is it their year? I mean,
is it your look? That's a damn good fucking year if you're Buffalo.
Let's be honest. Who wants to be the bridesmaid? My good years, I was a bridesmaid. I watched my friend get married. It was the best.
Haley Steinfeld has one over Taylor. I'm dead.
Dead. But I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's the Bills' year. I think they're a solid team. I think they have a lot going on. I think Josh Allen's on a heater. I think they have a lot of quality pieces, but I am not ready to write off these Kansas City Chiefs, who Mahomes did not have a great game with a couple of interceptions. You didn't have Pacheco there, who we saw Kareem Hunt is starting to lose that little bit of spark that he had before because the engine ain't purring as it used to. So you know what that means to me? That Isaiah Pacheco, if he comes back and looks the way he should, or we hope he should,
first week of December, he should be back.
I mean, there's rumors he might come back week 12. We know.
Yeah, I did hear that he could come back this week.
Yeah. So I think that this is the difference maker for the Chiefs as they head towards this role. And I think that this loss was good for them. It's a snap back to reality. Up there goes Rabbit. Up. Because you know why? This team has been on the run. They need to lose it all right now and realize, get back to that old school like burning sensation. Y'all won 9-0 and y'all won on some lucky stuff. Not lucky stuff because y'all are talented, but that blocked field goal at the end. That was a little bit, and then you kind of come into this game and you throw that first interception on the first drive, Mahomes, and a couple of the drives it had some motion, but he's thrown a couple of interceptions and he hasn't been that great this year with his throwing. Hopefully now this first loss kind of just gets him in his head and he gets locked in, because when we know when it comes to playoff time, Patrick Mahomes is a boss. He is a boss. He can show up with one leg and beat Joe Burrow. And that was when Robbie was glazing him harder than everyone glazed the Chiefs this year. He was glazing him so much they made those white uniforms. Okay. So at the end of the day, it is not their year until they beat the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Okay. Look, I like the argument, and I definitely do respect it.
Big Joe Burrow
is that I don't think that's going to happen this year.
That was a whole era.
They still got to fight it out. I mean, the Bengals still got to fight it out. I mean, you got
they're done.
Yeah, but I mean, to me they're definitely done. Let's see here. Got a fantasy question. If I can get it up on the screen. Stop acting stupid. Shepard, Bourne, or Gainwell, 16-man deep PPR. It'd probably be Kendrick Bourne for me.
That's who I'm going off the top of my head. I just want to look at what Shepard's numbers look like just before I say that. Shepard, you have 4, 4, 10, 2. Yeah, no, and Mike Evans is supposed to be back.
That's why I completely just fucking discounted Shepard. It's like, okay, well, Mike Evans is coming back.
And McMillan in his last game was playing with the bad hamstring. Then they had the bye, so I think he'll be upright and ready. So again, Shepard falls further down, and then you have Otten. No,
these guys went life and death with the Broncos and the Tampa Bay Hospitals. Yeah, that is true. That's why I'm kind of leaning more so towards like I'm not buying this Chiefs team right now. Pick one, drop one. There's no trade one because there's no trades now. Well, I guess technically there is trades because this would be the last week for trades, but
all right. So I think I saw how much he was rostered, and I realized I can't use that. Man, It's a little tough.
Bro, I got a roster that has nothing but fucking Buffalo Bills out, bro.
Oh my god.
I got Allen, Shakir, and Cooper out on one roster, and Devontae Adams out. But he wasn't gonna fucking do anything for me.
For my drop one, I was gonna use my overreaction, so I gotta hold that. All right. I mean, damn, no, because I don't think most people would roster him. I mean, I guess this is weird. It's time to drop Kareem Hunt. I mean, if it is Pacheco coming back, and from what we've seen over the last couple of weeks as he's tailored down from 18, 22, 13, 18, 17, 6, they're going to be going into a rougher patch of games with the Chargers, Cleveland, Houston, Pittsburgh to end the season. I just don't see his viability or his path to being any kind of relevance to your lineup, particularly if Pacheco is available. So you're better off just moving off of him into something else. At this point in time, he was recently a trade candidate, I had said, but now he's firmly moved into a cut, just based on these situations. The pickup one is little interesting. I'm gonna go on a limb with my pickup one because I like to be ballsy. You know, it's just who I am. And he's starting to show a couple of signs here with the Denver Broncos, but Devon Valley
Valet, I love that pickup, bro. I
over the last
absolutely
2 weeks,
love
just
that
seemingly
pickup.
getting himself in there. It's seeming like they're pushing him into kind of a role, and I'm having to roll the dice and actually start him in this divisional matchup. I don't fear the Raiders, and I do think he might have a shot at viability. He's seen 5 targets with 4 catches in his last game, and in the game before that, he had 4 targets for 4 catches and a touchdown. It's not the most target share, but I'm kind of rolling the ball there, even though he's only 2% rostered. But that's where I'm going.
Okay, okay. Hey, I ain't hating it. I ain't hating it. All right. So for me, my fucking gosh. I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting you to do that. For me, I am dropping Jaleel McLaughlin. I am over it. 17% of you out there have him still. Um, if you have him, get him the fuck off your roster. Like he's not doing anything. We mentioned last week that it's eventually going to become estimate time. Didn't really look that way last week, but they didn't really kind of need him. So I feel like, yeah, if you're part of that 17%, get out of that situation, please, as quick as you possibly can. And my pickup one is going to be Quentin Johnston. The dude has been electric lately. He's been going the fuck off. He has made me a fan. He has converted me. I know I used to get on him about the drops, the body drops, but that's how I feel. Let's see here. Yo, nice Knicks hat. But my Celtics winning it again. But anyways, Knicks or Purdy rest of season.
I got a quick answer to that, and it's not even a hesitation. Give me Brock my Glock as Purdy, baby.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Brock.
He's the number 7 quarterback in probably most rankings. He's been consistent throughout the season. While he hasn't had any real 30-point or big games, he's been consistent. And when you look at that offense and you look at that coach, I believe in that rest of the year. Knicks, I am not going to lie. I'm going to have to pucker up. I'm going to take 2 shots and make sure I have tons of chasers because it's going to be a hell of a ride each playoff game that you're going to expect this rookie to deliver when, let's face it, They're gonna understand what rookies do, and they're gonna adjust. And this is when does the adjustment happen? Does it happen against the right team? Does he run against the buzzsaw? Does the team figure out the thing he doesn't do right and expose him because he hasn't been exposed yet? Like, all of these are questions that are gonna happen yet. Brock, my Glock is Purdy. Let's face it, he's shown up and shown out, and he's gonna be one of the best last picks. He is the best last pick ever. And with that said,
for me, it is opposite. I am gonna go Bo Nix because the schedule is significantly easier. Don't get me wrong, Brock Purdy, he's probably going to still finish the season, right about where he's at. He's going to finish the season the top 10 QB. And that's not to say that Nix isn't going to be able to do that. But I mean, Bo Nix, especially, now that we're talking, getting into playoffs here, you got the Raiders this week. That's an easy one. Browns, you get a bye week 14. Then he plays the Colts, Chargers, finish the season with the Bengals. Like, that's, and the way that he's been balling, if you don't think that in the back of Bo Nix's mind he needs to be playing for offensive rookie of the year, you're bugging. So, for me personally, Jason, it is going to be Bo Nix based off that schedule. Niners got Green Bay this week, and then the schedule is just really convoluted. Disley, Jake Ferd, or Kincaid rest of the season. Dude, they're really getting Disley a lot of work.
That's funny because that's exactly Kincaid to me is the opposite. I'm not coming out saying I'm like, oh my god, like Kincaid's like one of those guys that you just kind of like look at yourself in the mirror and say, next year I'm not drafting a tight end anywhere near the top. Like, I don't care what they tell me. Like, I don't you have to be like so disappointed in Kincaid. And when you see the motion that Disley's getting, obviously, Ferguson is still with that Cowboys, correct? Not mistaken. Yeah. I'm not going anywhere near there either. Disley is it because he has the best quarterback with a solid target share.
Yeah, for me, it is going to be Disley. Wondering if estimate is really going to become a thing or if it's just hype. I'm more so leaning towards the side of that becoming a thing next season, which is why I have estimate more so in dynasty formats than redraft.
I'm going to explain my reaction to that on the next topic.
Good, because we're about to get into that topic so that we can get on out of here. Biggest overreaction from week 11 and bold take for week 12.
My biggest overreaction from week 11 is that motherfucker Sean Payton, you son of a bitch. Why did you hype up Andre Estime so much to us? I was ready. I had to start him. I put him in my lineup. I got screwed. You mother, I hate you. The whole Javonte Williams thing. Oh my god. Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna be a real thing this year. I think he likes to yank the wanker. Yeah.
Just the tip, baby.
Like that, buddy. Like, I'm not very happy with Sean Payton right now. So I don't know if that's gonna be a thing the rest of the year, barring an injury. I do think that it's going to be muddy enough. He does not get enough catches to justify him in most PPR settings, which is what we mostly play. So, yeah, I don't know if I think he might be more hype than sensation because of the way he plays and they're using him. He's not getting enough catches, he's not getting touchdowns, and he's not getting enough volume.
It'll be a thing next year for estimate, just because like McLaughlin won't be there, so on and so forth. Who knows what's going to happen with Javonte? They're probably going to move on from that money. So that's what I would say about that. For me, my overreaction is Anthony Richardson is back. No, the fuck he's not. He's still Anthony Richardson. Let's calm the fuck down, all right? And your bold take for week 12.
My bold take for week 12. I've been on a hot streak with most of these bold takes. So that means I have to go a little bolder than what I've been going, right? I think so. So my bold take is that this week the New York Giants are going to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the back of Tommy DeVito, having a fucking Tommy Cutlets kind of game, and he's showing up and showing out with the meatballs and the chicken farm.
That's hilarious. Oh fuck, that was hilarious. Oh, that's some sad ass shit.
If they do this shit, I swear to God, guys. I swear to God.
For me, my bold take for this weekend, I'm like in my head, I'm debating like which way I want to go with this one.
Because you got to be bold.
No, I mean, yeah, but it ain't gotta be as bold as you went. That's just delusional.
I mean, I hit on my last couple. I feel
my bold take. Monday Night Football, Chargers over Ravens. I got Chargers over Ravens.
I like that.
It was either gonna be that or San Fran getting back on track. I like the Chargers over Ravens more so than what I was gonna say. So it's just the way that Justin Herbert's playing football right now. This team is playing like you got to start putting some respect on their name. They're playing like something to fear. So I'm going with the battle of the hardballs.
Yeah,
Tommy Cutlets.
you know they're gonna have the best pregame meals. Nothing
Cutlets
but penny island vodka and chicken cutlets.
Cutlets changes the culture with pure aura. I'm bad. You are nutty.
Shit smells like a pizzeria now.
Agreed. Pissed off with Sean Payton.
Absolutely.
Hey, look.
Me and Russell Wilson both.
I had even said though during last week's episode, like, hey, let's take.
I just gotta say one thing though about this. Mr. Unlimited has something to say for you, Mr. Payton. You're solid, but you ain't that good.
We'll see. It's been an interesting season.
Yep.
It smells like chicken parm. All righty. We're Goal Line Goons. Make sure that you guys like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, make sure that you share the content. If you have any other fancy questions, you can always go back, rewatch, and drop a comment in the YouTube section, and we'll get back to you and answer. Other than that, I'm Robbie. That's Taco. Cheers to me. Cheers to you. All the Big Guy Fantasy Sports crew and Rum Boys and girls, what it do? We love and appreciate you. We are out of here.
Preaching on the